up YouTube? My name's Quickie, welcome back to the channel. We've got pretty much the last remaining stuff that we need to sort Asbo out. So this is a Gunsons Color Tune. I was having quite a few people have mentioned these and I've seen them on the web and all that sort of stuff. Well, it's quite a cool little gadget really. It's a real simple idea, but we'll be using that to set up the mixtures and stuff. And what have I got in it? I've also got the fuel tap repair kit, which I can get on with. So that's all good. And we are getting real close. There's Steve-O, he's going to be dropping down later on, because he's dropping his girls back. So as he drives past, he's going to hoof a box out the window, which has got all sorts of bits and pieces in it for exhaust and blah, 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 blah. He's got loads of odds and sods for Jixit, like switch gear and levers and all that other kind of stuff. So once Asbo's done, I can crack on with Jixit and we can just carry on with the project where we left it. That would be cool. I'm quite looking forward to getting back on that actually. But yeah, we are not far away now. So, oh yeah, that was the thing. Because we're getting close to doing this, you know, this tuning thing and getting it all running right and everything else. I've had a few messages of people. I love all the comments that we get on the videos and stuff. They're really, really good. And everyone's chipping in and trying to help. And, you know, I mean, a lot of the time I already know the answers and stuff, but it's nice that people are feeding in. You know, because they might come up with something that you've missed or you haven't considered or another way of doing it or something like that. So I'm loving all this. But I've had a few messages through from people going, with all this exhaust malarkey and everything else, you're going to need to re-sync the carbs when you switch exhausts. And I'm like, hey, no you don't, it's a mechanical thing. But they're quite insistent, and I've had like 17 messages or emails off people going, yeah, you've got to do it. So I thought, well, I started to second guess myself. Because they obviously believe what they're saying. So I punted a message out to Andy Girdin from Andy's Motorcycle Obsessions, obviously, and said, just double check me, I'm not wrong, am I? And he went, no, you're right. You don't have to. Honestly, you don't have to. Basically, the syncing a carb, well, I'll show it when we get, because the carb's got to come off again. But when you sync the carbs, essentially all you're doing is controlling when and how much the butterflies open, because you want them all to open up together so you get the same amount of air flowing through each of the carburetors to fuel and kind of feed each of the pistons. That's all it is. Changing the exhaust, yes, it will change back pressures and all that other sort of stuff. And you probably need to change your mixture screws and you might have to rejet the carbs and all this, but you won't need to resync the carbs. So I'm not saying who it is, because they were private messages. If it was like just a comment on YouTube, you know, in the comment section, then yeah, I'll tell you, but because that's public view. But these are private messages, so I ain't saying who it was, but they're wrong. I've also checked in the manual just because I was like I say, double guessing myself, and you ain't got to do it in there either. So yeah, lesson to be learned, I think. You know, everyone on YouTube or who watches YouTube suddenly becomes a subject matter expert, I suppose. And it could well be that they've seen this other video somewhere who the fella got it wrong and he said that you had to, and that's what they've believed. But in all instances like this, I've got a fairly good idea as to what I've got to do. I've also got the workshop manuals, both the Haynes one and the Suzuki one. And I've also got access to some mates who really know their onions. So I'm going to go with them. Thank you very much for the comments though, and trying to help out. Is, you know, you got it a bit wrong this time. I'm not taking the mick. I love it that people are chipping in, I really do. But you do have to be careful and kind of sanity check everything that people tell you if it just don't sit right with you. So anyway, that's that. Right, I'm going to do the fuel tap. That's the easy bit. Right then, fuel tank. It has got 5 litres of fuel in it, so it's down to about there. So I'm just going to do it this way, we should be alright. Pom 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 pom. Right, so what do we get in this? Hendler fuel tap repair kit. Fair enough. This fuel tap repair kit must be fitted by a trained motorcycle mechanic. Not a motorcycle mechanic. I've told everybody this time and time and time again. I'm not. But I think I could manage this. Right. So that's a little diaphragm, that. Couple of mounting bolts. Well, you'll see it when we get it all apart. Right, let's have him off. Only reason that I'm doing this is because when I fired it up before to see if it would actually run, it was peeing fuel out. Absolutely peeing it out. I've got some Jubilee clips and stuff like that for the hoses. Push comes to shove, I'll just lock wire it, but come on. Right, there we go. So there's the pickup tube and the filter, which strangely enough you don't get one in the service kit, but that actually doesn't look too bad. It's a bit of goo on the pickup tube. Right. Not a lot to it really, is there? Right, where's my cardboard? I need cardboard. Right then, this time, new bits is staying on the white piece of paper. Old bits is staying on the cardboard. I did goof up, I'm sure I did. The more I think about it, with that brake master cylinder, I'm just convinced I'll put the old one in and I don't want to do that again. So we're going to try and stay a little bit more organised. Let's get all the bits off that. So once I've got this apart, give it all a good clean. Shove the new kit in there. I'll need me rubber grease as well, I think. But then we should be good. Then at least I know that this is okay. It was hard to tell where it was leaking from. It could have been the union on these pipes. Don't really know. It could have. I don't think it was around the base where it joins the tank on here. But it could be this gasket that I'm about to remove. But we shall see. Right, so underneath here there should be a little spring. Which there is. So he sits on there, then you've got this gasket, or part of the diaphragm. As soon as you move it, you get fuel peeing out of it. So he goes on that way. And then this little diaphragm should just pop off. Can't see any holes in it or anything, but there are a couple of pucker marks. There you go, more fuel. Probably a good indication that it was sealed actually. So this side there should be that funny little happy face. The way that these work is that you have a vacuum line that comes off your carburetors. So as it draws a vacuum, it kind of moves the diaphragm, and that's what allows the fuel to flow through. It's really simple. They've also got a prime, which is just like free flowing, so it will just open the tap on this and let the fuel come out regardless of whether the engine's going or not. So he comes off. There's a little gaskety thing there, don't know if you can see that. That's all a bit there. And that's different. Why are you different? I was expecting to see one of them. I should have cottoned on really because it's a different size. But it looks like we've got the wrong bloody one. Awesome. Genius. Right, the only thing I can really do is to give this a clean up as best I can, because bits of it are a bit there. Where's the paperwork for that? GSF 600 Bandit. 95-04. Right. Maybe this fuel tap is off something else then. Because this ain't the same. Diaphragm's different. It's just a different bloody kit. This fuel tap is off something else, I'm sure. Well, luckily, all apart from that, looks alright. It's like a sprung washery type thing, so it's not like it's a rubber seal. So I can clean him up and he'll be okay. The diaphragms and everything do look alright. I'm hoping that that's sealed to the tank. Yeah, that will fit. So I can reuse that. So that'll be all good. But it's wrong. Oh, that is really annoying. Now I've got to be really bloody careful with all of this stuff. Because if I stick holes in it and rip it and all that sort of shenanigans, it ain't gonna be happy. And I don't know what this came off. I don't really care what it came off as long as it works. That's fine. Just looking for some numbers. If there were some numbers on here, I could search for that. But there aren't any. I mean, why would there be, eh? Right, he's nice and clean, so he can go back on there. Cleaned up and blown out all inside here. There wasn't really anything in it anyway, but I figured you might as well, eh? He goes on that way. Right, so, I mean, this diaphragm is very, very skinny, it has to be said. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of rubber grease around the edge just to help it seal. Just being as careful as I can. So he can fit back in his hole. Which he is. And a little bit of rubber grease on the gasket. Noisy van. Squidges the gasket out a bit, doesn't it? Right. What to do on this? It does look skinnier to me. I don't know. Certainly fits, and it certainly stands proud. That's the old one. So the only bits I'm going to be using out of the new kit is the mounting screws, because they're just nasty, and this gasket as well. I checked it. It does sit. I mean, the other one isn't too bad. You know, it's still flexible. I can't really see any nicks in it or any of that sort of shenanigans going on. It would probably be okay just to reuse that one, but you know, the kit itself is only, I don't know, 15-16 quid or something. It's not a lot. I don't really care, but where I can use new gaskets and stuff, obviously I would like to. Right, so there's no burrs and nicks and stuff like that going on, which is all cool. He's in, which is sweet. So this can just go back in there. Right, so the gasket is sitting proud, and it's all the way around, so he'll be fine. Let's get a socket. I am a little bit annoyed about that, because it isn't a Bandit tap. I had a look in the parts thing. This is definitely the kit for a 95 to 04 Bandit. Plastic washers, do I want to shove them? No, I don't really want to, because it is sealed and it's got like a sealing ring on the inside of it. And the shoulder on these bolts has got the serrations on it. So it's fine, it ain't going to leak and it ain't going to come loose, because they'll obviously dig into the metal. And it's way better than these. These didn't even have it, and they were just bolted straight onto there with no washers, so I think we'd be fine with that. They can go in my box a bit. Where is it? There we go. Yeah, I am slightly annoyed about that, because this is obviously the right kit. It's just that ain't the right tap for this bike. But there's no markings or anything else on it, so I can't tell what it came off. Which is a little bit annoying. I am going to shove the old gasket back in here, because there is nothing wrong with it, and I might even be able to use this on a later project. Who knows? Let's just give him a mark. GSF 600. Right then, so next job is going to be I want to do the valve clearances. Reason for doing this is I just want to make sure it's all set and sorted before I sink carbs and blah 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 blah. I haven't got a clue when they were last done. I did start to do this. I was going to do it before, then I stopped halfway through because I didn't have camera gear and stuff like that with me, and I thought it would just be an interesting thing to see. I'm not sure if this engine has been painted when it's all together. I think it has been. That could make things interesting to get off, eh? Anyway, step one, I'm just going to blow everything down so there's no dust and crap in there that could fall in. Right, so basically I need to get the valve cover off, which is this bit here. There is, how many bolts holding this on? There's 14 bolts holding that bugger on. They really don't want it coming off, do they? However, to get to them, there's a few bits and pieces in the way. So obviously, plug leads have to come out of the way. We've got a breather hose, which is this one here. That's the valve cover breather. That needs to come off. We might end up, we might end up shifting some of the wiring and stuff as well, because that's all sort of in the way. Throttle cables and stuff we should be okay with. The oil lines need to come off here and here, just so we can free everything else up. And we should be good to go, I think. It is a little bit snug in there, but you can do this with the engine in situ. So that's what we're going to have a crack at doing, because I suppose if you're doing this at home, then you ain't going to want to take the engine out just to do all this. So we'll see what's what. I want to try and neaten up some of these wires as well, because they're drooping down. So hopefully once I'm in there and stuff and everything's pulled apart, I can find a place to cable tie them up out of the way so we can make a little bit of a neater job of it. But anyway, I'll perch you up on the back and you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully you won't fall over, and we'll go from there, eh? Right, so start off with all I'm doing is pulling the plug leads out and just labelling them up so I know which one goes to which. Cylinders 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just so I don't cock it up. There we go. There we go. Right, so we can get those out of the way. So that's all good. The coils don't need to come off to do this. I just want to try and keep things out of the way wherever I can though. Pom 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 pom. Here's a flat one. So then we take the valve cover breather off. Don't like this tube either because it's got a kink in it here. If it was a little bit longer, it would snake around nice and it wouldn't have that bloody great kink. But there you go. is what it is. And there's no clamp on this end, so it will be getting one. Right, so that's all the bolts out of it. Pretty easy to get to, actually. There's nothing drastically in the way or anything else like that. Right, where's my knocking stick? Right, this engine has been, you can see it's been painted, but it's been painted with all the bolts and everything else in place. So chances are this ain't going to want to just lift off. Yeah, no. So, what can I knock on? Right, there's a couple of lugs at the front. There isn't really anything at the back of the engine to get underneath. So that should really be it. Oh, here we go. Something just moved. There we go. Hear it suddenly go sort of lower in tone, I suppose. Yeah, we're moving. Right, there is a couple of dowels in here as well. So I want it to come up sort of straight off. Come on. And the temptation is to jam something in underneath the valve cover, but you really don't want to do that. You coming up? So you are moving, aren't you? There we go. So we should, yeah, I'll just pop him out the side. Let's make sure the wiring's out of the way. Come on, up you come. There we go. Right, so now I've just got to squeak him out. He is free. There is a gasket that runs around here. I don't really care which side it goes to, but it would be nice if that came away. All things being equal and nothing gone pear-shaped, yeah. He should squeak out. getting hung up on anything. You can come off there. Don't really want to take that. Oh, actually, I might take the cover off, just because it will give me a little bit more room. Right. It says you don't need to take this cover off, but I'm looking at this thinking, because the cam chain guides, they're just sort of in the wrong place. So if I take this cover off, which I really don't like doing now it's free. That will give me a little bit more room. I don't need to take the throttle cables off because they kind of loop up and out of the way. I really wish I'd have loosened that beforehand. 10mm. Okay, according to the manual, you don't have to take this cover off, like the breather cover off the top of the valve cover. In the book it doesn't tell you to do it, but it does give you like an inch of extra clearance. I was real careful the bolts aren't done up very tight at all, and they're easy to get to, but I wish I'd have done it before releasing the valve cover, just because, you know, it wasn't sitting on its dowels and held in place with bolts and all that sort of stuff. This should come off. Why aren't you coming up? Oh, you're held up on a piece of loom. Right, get them out of the way. Come on. You're coming off. Right, we're off. That's the underside of the valve covers. There's a dowel here. Is my other dowel still in there? Please be in it. Yes, it is. Okay. Right. One of the seals for the plugs came off on this side, which is fine. That really doesn't matter. This one looks like it's been a bit chewed. Right, I'm really not sure how much of this you're going to see, so the camera might be moving, I'll warn you now. Anyway, I've just taken off the pulse generator cover, right hand side of the bike. It's the front cover. It's basically just five little Allen bolts, and away it comes. There is a gasket underneath there, so this is all going to need to be cleaned up and sorted out again before I put it on. Get loads of muck in here as well, obviously where the cable run comes in. But anyway, this nut here is basically the end of the crank. And to turn the engine, there's a couple of options. You can stick it in top gear, lift the back wheel off the floor and just rotate the wheel in its normal direction of travel. That will turn it over quite happily. Or you can just, and that's a good way of doing it if you don't want to take this off because you ain't got another gasket or anything like that. Or you just pop this gasket over, and with a 19mm socket, he goes on there, and you have to turn it in a clockwise direction. Don't do it the other way. But yeah, turn it in a clockwise direction, and that way you can turn the engine over and get the cams in the right places so you can check the valve clearances. So as far as valve clearances go, let's squeak you up here a little bit. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Okay. I've got a torch, but in here, I'll try and do the zoomy thing, but there's a little notch cut into the end of the cam line here, and there's another one on that end, and there's a line that's directly opposite. So you've got notch, line, line, notch, yeah? And the idea is that you turn the crank over, turn the engine over, initially until the big notch is facing out and the line is in line with this mating surface, the gasket line, yeah? And basically the notch on this one faces that way and the notch on that one faces the other way. So basically they're opposites, all right? So that's your first thing. Once you're there, if we bring you around the other end, you want to have a look at where the cam lobes are. I'll try and get a picture of this, but these are the cam lobes. They're sort of egg-shaped, is the easy way to explain it, okay? So the thin end of the egg, that actually has a number of different positions where it's okay to check the valve clearances. This is one of them. So with the little end of the egg pointed to the outside of the engine, so this one faces to the right, this one faces to the left, that's an okay place to check it. I will get a picture, and in the Haynes Book of Fairy Tales there is this picture here which kind of explains it all as well. So we're looking at this bottom example. As long as the egg is either facing outwards or the little end is facing upwards, as you can see in the top diagram, then you're in. You can check your valve clearances. And on these, it ain't too bad, not by a long shot, so that's what we're going to do next. Right, okay, so we know that the lobes, cam lobes are in the right place. We can check this. Okay, and with it in this position, we can check the intake and exhaust valves on number 1 cylinder, the exhaust valves on number 2, and the intakes on number 3. Okay, for the intake side, the gap has to be between 0.1 and 0.15 of a millimetre. So what we're looking for is there's, well, we'll look at the exhaust side here. The lobe runs on this rocker arm, kind of a tappet affair, and that sits on top of the valve stem. And what you're looking to do is to check the gap between the two. Again, I will see if I can get a picture of it. So let's start on the intake for number 1. So, make sure that's all clean. And all I'm doing is sliding the feeler gauge in the gap. Right, so 0.1 goes in. That's fine. 0.15. He does go in, but he is snug. Alright, what else we got? What's the next size up? Come on. I should have had all this prepared, I am sorry. Alright, let's try 0.18. Right, he's not going in that one. I can just get him in that one. So we are a little bit out on these. They are going to need to be adjusted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, I've got a notepad and pen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of these that I can check. I'll find out what the gap is and write it down. Then I'm going to rotate the engine into its next position, which is basically where those notches are facing towards one another instead of the outsides. I'll make sure the lobes are in the right place, and then I'll check the other valves as well. If the lobes aren't in the right place, once you've set the notches where the manual says to set them, don't worry, you haven't done anything wrong. All you got to do is give the engine a complete revolution again. So, you know, turn that nut on the crank all the way around until the notches line up again to where they're supposed to be. And then you should find that the lobes are in the right place and you can check it. So rather than bore the willies out of you. I'm going to go through and check these, but basically it's just sliding. I don't know. That's a really skinny one that'll go in. But basically, it's sliding the feeler gauge goes in between the tappet, the adjuster screw on the rocker arm and the top of the valve stem. It's that gap in there. I will get some pictures and show you. It's really easy. You just have to, take your time, be a little bit careful, and away you go, sort of thing. So let me get that done, and then I'll give you the results. Right, so these are the results that I've got. The exhaust valve clearances need to be between 0.18 and 0.23. We have got some down at 0.18 and I've got one up at 0.23. But the good news is they're all there or thereabouts. They're certainly within the specs, it's just that I've got a couple that are either end. And as far as the inlets go, it needs to be between 0.1 and 0.15. I've got a couple here that's out, the inlets on cylinder 3, so we're going to need to tweak them anyway. There's also, we're kind of like, there's one out here and there's one in, so that there is a little bit of tweaking that needs doing. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. The Haynes Book of Fairy Tales, don't know if you can see this picture here. Basically, you grab the end with a big pair of pliers and use a spanner on the lock nut. You can get a little tool, which is kind of like an elongated ring spanner, and then it's got an insert that goes through, which has got a little 4mm square socket end to it. That replaces the pliers. And obviously the elongated ring spanner kind of replaces what he's using there as a normal spanner. I ain't got one of them, so I'm going to be using the Haynes method. The idea is that you just loosen off the lock nut, adjust the tappet in the middle, the little square peg, until you get it where you want, and then just holding that square peg where it needs to be, just tighten up the lock nut again. So kind of any way will do, but one of those tools would be nice because I get the sense I'm going to be doing this a bit. Okay, so cylinder nut, I've cranked over the engine again to get my marks right, and my lobes are pointed outwards. That means that I can check the clearances on the inlets and the inlets and the exhaust valves on cylinder 1 according to the book. So, where are we? The exhausts are okay, they're on 0.18mm, which is the lower end of their adjustment, but they're within spec. The inlets on the other side, one is 0.15, which is basically right on the maximum, and this one is 0.18, so they're right on the cusp or beyond it basically, so they're the ones that's going to get changed. So let's start with the second one first. It's 0.18. So if we loosen off the lock nut, there we go. Don't need to be massive amounts. You can get the feeler gauges. Where are we? 0.18. There you go, so 0.1, 0.13 and 0.15. Okay, ideally I'd get this at 0.13 I think, because that one wants to be between 0.1 and 0.15. So, his gap is too big, so with the lock nut released, you can just turn this, turn the little square peg on the top. And the idea is we want to get that gap right, then we want to nip it up, and then we're going to check it again just to make sure that nothing moved. So 0.15. He goes in quite easily. So let's wind it down a little bit more. He's just going in now. A little bit more. Right, he really doesn't want to go down. So 0.1 mil. He goes in. I'll keep him out. 0.13. He wants to go in, but he ain't. So we are between 0.1 and 0.13, which is fine by me. So now all we've got to do is keep that peg where it is, which could be easier than or harder than you think, because it's just a case of getting to the bugger. Right, so keep him there. He's level with the crank. Sorry, the cam. And then tighten this down, making sure that that centre peg doesn't move. What am I leaning on? That'll do. He moved. This is why it's so bloody hard. Right, so he's snugged up. So let's check him again. So 0.1, he goes in. 0.13. No. You can kind of get him most of the way in, but that last little bit just doesn't want to go. So we're within tolerance, that's fine. And that's all I've got to do for all of the ones that is out. I want to try and get him in the middle of the range if I can at all. If it is on the cusp, you know, so the limit is 0.15 for example, and it measures up as 0.15, I am going to adjust them anyway, just in case my skills with a set of feeler gauges isn't what they should be. I want to get them in the middle. So that's what we're going to do. Right, so they're all squeaked up then. I've gone through and adjusted everything. It is really awkward actually with a set of bloody pliers and that little peg. You don't need to move it much at all to make quite a difference. I don't know what pitch the thread is, but obviously that's what governs the gap. But yeah, we got all that lot done. I am probably going to end up getting one of them little tools. They ain't expensive, and I just think it would make the job an awful lot easier, and you wouldn't, you know, you would stand less of a chance of marring up that little square peg, because you probably don't want to do that. But anyway, as far as results goes, I've got within 0.02 of all of it. So pretty much we're in the middle. So I'm happy with that. That'll do me. So now all I've got to do is shove this thing back on. I need to clean up the mating surfaces and obviously get the cover on the side of it as well. But I need to get some adhesive just to go over some of these little rubbers and mating surfaces and stuff. Well, that's not very good. What's going on there? Oh no, that's all right. It's all right, it's just a bit of the adhesive coming off. See it like here. Basically where these little half moons go into the crankcase, you know, into the engine case rather, you're supposed to put this adhesive down. It's all stringy stuff, it doesn't actually set rock solid or anything else. And there is a recommended Suzuki one, so I'm just going to get some of that. What else is going on? Oh yeah, in other news, Steve-O came up trumps. Look at that. So, in here, this I think is from Simon Rolls, from Southwest Bikers. Yes. So this is a dB meter, a proper one. So we can check and see how noisy and everything is. We'll be playing with that, trust me. But no, Steve-O's come up trumps and stuff as well. He's sent loads of bits and pieces for his bike. And I asked him to shove a couple of extras in here that I can use, stuff like heat shrink and all that sort of thing. My connector kit has turned up, so I can sort out those stupid little connectors. But we've got exhaust bits. This he thinks is a link pipe off a Bandit. It's just a shame that the collector that I've got isn't. It's obviously been monkeyed with and brackets chopped off and all sorts of stuff. That'll be alright, I can take that back on. I think it's stainless and stuff as well, which is good. We've also got a couple of cans. It says a Kropovich on it. Yeah, it ain't. This is one of them cheapy wish jobbies, like cost you 40 quid. The carbon fibre looks like it has been drawn on with a crayon. But it is a shorty, and I may well end up running a shorty, I don't know. This is a real cheap exhaust can. This one, not so much. The whole system that came on Gixxit, that we then chopped up, was a Delcovic system, and that's what this is. So this really is carbon fibre, and this is a lot more expensive than that. Now, out of the goodness of his heart, he said, well, I've got all this stuff, you might as well use it because it's just sort of sitting there. But I really don't want to use expensive stuff when he's just helping me out, because he is a mate, and you don't want to, you know, take the mick or anything else. So we're probably going to end up running with that one if it fits. I don't know what actually fits in what on this. Does that go in there? Yes, it will. And that's the same boot. Right, so we could be in. Basically, we're going to use the collector, this thing. We're going to use the collector off Gixxit and the headers. This whole thing, these headers, this collector and those headers was part of the Delcovic system. Don't know about this, but it does fit the Delcovic can as well. It had like a graphite, I think that's graphite. I don't know, it had some sort of gasket in here. It looks more like duct tape now. Well, I don't know, I think it could well be duct. Oh, I don't know, maybe it is graphite. Yeah, possibly. That's all marred up and chewed up and everything else, so we're going to need to sort out something there. But I've got the basics for an exhaust system. Only trouble is I'm going to have to weld the headers back together again because we cut them in two. Seemed like a brilliant idea at the time, because we were going to not be using that system at all. We're going to be making a whole new one, and we just needed the headers in place for placement. And the other stuff was getting in the way. So Steve-O chopped it in two. Wish we hadn't have done that now, that would have saved me some work. But anyway, so what we're going to do, I'm going to get all this lot back together again. Stick the covers on, you know, blah, blah, blah. I ain't going to do the connectors just yet because I want to crack on with the exhaust and see what's what. And what we're going to do is, I've got the Color Tune, I've got a carb sync kit, so we're going to set all that stuff up. And then we are going to measure how loud it is with Simon's dB meter. And then we're going to change it and stick my exhaust on it. And then we're going to see what changes have to be made to the mixtures, because obviously it's going to be different. The Noisy Boy can on there at the minute, I mean, that's going to be running so lean. It really, really is. But the Color Tune should tell us that. And then we'll tweak and monkey about with it and get it so it's running right and it's where it should be. And then we're going to stick the other system on it and see what changes we need to make, and also how quiet that one is by comparison. So there's plenty coming, lots to be getting on with. Today is Wednesday. I've got 2 more days in here, and then it's the weekend. So I'm probably going to end up painting the house. I can see it coming. But anyway, we have got stuff. Oh look, he's even put clamps in. He's a good lad. I don't care what you say. Steve-O's all right in my book. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it for today. It's only a short, quick one. Really all we've done is monkeyed about with a fuel tap that I couldn't really do much with, and do the valve caps. which needed doing. I'm not sure they've ever been done. But there you go, so that's it. That's where I'm leaving it today. And then over the next couple of days, get that all lot back together, and then I can crack on with this. And we are like this close now. I'm itching to go hooning. I'm going to go the long way. I'll probably take you along as well, just so you can see what's what, and I can tell you what I think. But anyway, that's it for today. Do stay safe. There's loads of people out in Plymouth today, and they shouldn't be. They should know better. You've got to stay home and look after yourselves and your family. But anyway, I hope you're all good, and we'll see you again next time. Laters!